start with a tribute video. I know council and city staff went through and looked through all of our photos over the last 6 years, and we tried our best to embarrass Shona with some of the pictures that we've taken. So I think we're going to start with that.
I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of council member place 2. Frisco has been very good at planning where they want to go and what they want to be. I actually hold a master's degree from UNT, so I am proud of that degree. And so I'm thrilled to have this opportunity to partner once again in our community, and I think this is the way partnerships should be done. And Frisco has done that so well for so long. As we're developing the Northern Quadrant, we want to make sure that it's high quality, it's sustainable, it's things that not only our people who come and visit here are going to want, but it's also things that our residents are going to want. Perfect. Not gonna lie, I like this one. It's making it really hard to choose today. The food is incredible. I love that we've got a great partnership with the businesses, and I love that the businesses can thrive here. This is exactly what makes Frisco a great community to live in. It's just a great place to be.
Didn't make the video, but we have lots in this book to commemorate your 6 years of, did that fall out? Oh. For your 6 years of service to the citizen. I was going through them today and just realizing all that has been accomplished over the last 6 years, obviously with you in this leadership role. I will say that in this book, that in my opinion, the Kidzania pictures that we took are still the best pictures in here. So those, when you go through here and look at this and share these memories, pay special attention to those. We had a fun day that day. But I do just want to say, on behalf of the citizens of Frisco and City Council, that your leadership was a big part of why we accomplished all the things that we've accomplished here over the last 6 years. And when we start rattling off the wins and successes, we do it collectively as a team. And specifically speaking, obviously we saw the video of the University of North Texas. I think it played a very vital role. Getting a university in a community is almost impossible. Every community wants it, but it's very difficult to execute it with all the things that have to happen. And you're a big part of bringing them here. Of course, the PGA, everyone knows that. We all had a great time bringing the PGA of Frisco to here, and every council member played a vital role. It wouldn't happen without everyone. You were a big leader in that as far as pushing different things. But those are the big projects, and I've mentioned that a lot of times it's the smaller things that kind of give you the best gratitude, as far as things that you don't see necessarily in newspaper headlines, things that maybe people in the audience have never even heard of, but that time you're able to actually help a citizen, with a very specific issue, times when you're able to engage with, very specific groups. Of course, I got to see that firsthand many times. I had a front row seat to that and seeing Shona do that in that role. One of which being, I see Allison Miller here, kind of being the lead with the Marriage Youth Council, which is a program that's kind of dear to my heart and is dear to your heart, as far as developing that. And of course, your daughter was able to go through it, and my son was able to go through it, but just all the children that kind of got to learn from you. It's not surprising that all of you that are here that know Shona and love Shona, that debate night was her favorite night of Marriage Youth Council. But there's just so many other different things that you've been a big part of. I know all of us, I can speak for all of us, that when our time serving the community is done, we just hope that we have left it in a better place than we received it. And I think you can proudly say that you've left Frisco in a better place than you've received it. And your leadership and dedication was paramount to our success. and someone who served alongside you. I always joke that kind of council is like brothers and sisters, Some days we're kind of bickering in the back seat, and other days we're hugging each other. But at the same time, we always had the mission that Frisco is the most important, and we're working collectively to that. We can do amazing things, and over the 6 years of service as a council member, you did amazing things that you should be proud of. So thank you, and I appreciate you.
So I remember the first time that I think we officially met was in a coffee shop almost 7 years ago when both of us were considering running for council. And I knew then that we had very similar visions for the city, and you've held true to that vision for these last 6 years. And your dedication to the city has been just phenomenal. So I'm not the one to speak a lot. So thank you for your dedication. Thank you for all of the work that you've done for us.
I have not had the opportunity, much like my colleagues, to spend a lot of time with you on council, in that I was just newly elected back in June. But I will say, as a woman on council, I was always encouraged to see your strength as a woman sitting here every Tuesday, and then your leadership out in the community. And you will be certainly missed. And I love the fact that you have your girls up there to show them what it's like to be a strong woman in every area of your life. So thank you for your service.
So one of the things that comes to my mind, Shona, is strength. You represent strength. When we're like brothers and sisters and we're discussing things, you always stood for what you believed was right. You stood your ground, and more importantly, you did what you thought was best for the citizens of Frisco, and I know everybody in this room will agree with that.
Woo!
Thank you for your tenacity, your professionalism, and I wish you the very best.
I was talking to Shona briefly up here before we came out here, and I was going to say, for 5 years from where our relationship started to today, I think we've come a long way. I consider you not only a council colleague, but a friend, and I wish you the best. I also want to point out, one of the things I always was most impressed with by Shona was her knowledge and communication of legislative affairs at the state level. And I was always impressed by it. And I think tonight, the fact that our state representative Patterson came to wish you goodbye is a testament to your influence. And I'm sorry, Mr. Patterson, you're not going to get any more phone calls from her about bills. So I'm sure you just came here to make sure that she was, in fact, so one thing I want to promise you is that I will call you the day that I get accepted into Leadership Frisco.
I just had my surgery on Wednesday of last week, so my mind is not fully engaged in every part of it that I would love for it to be, where I can have this memorized. But to say that it has been an honor to serve the city of Frisco, it just really seems lacking. Like, there's just not words to say what that honor really is, and how I feel about this community, and how I feel about the opportunity that I was given. While I truly hated and disliked the campaigning part, I really loved getting to know so many of you personally on your doorsteps. And I don't think, and those of us who stood up here and have gone through this process, it was never lost on me anytime somebody said, yes, I'll put your sign in my yard. I mean, I did a dance all the way back to the car, because that just meant that you trusted me. And that meant so much. Many of you I met
through kids' activities or knocking on your door or through business events. And I want you to know that it was just never wasted on me, the trust that you put in me. A lot of you took the time to get to know me through our sweet tea conversations. You know, every once in a while I'd say, join me over sweet tea, let's talk it out. And I was never surprised that people would just say, I'll take you up on that offer. And it would be somebody that probably we hadn't agreed on much, but by the end of that conversation, we had a friendship that was about the city of Frisco. Some of you asked me really hard questions, and some that I knew that I wouldn't fully be able to do. But for me, it was more about finding ways to work together. The one thing I prayed from day one when I decided to run the very first time was that God would grant me grace and wisdom. Wisdom for the decisions that I would need to make, and grace to carry it out as I interacted with people. And I believe that is why I really didn't have issues in disagreeing with people and then turning around and finding a way to work with them. Case in point. You know, there's a lot of people that say that politics is personal, but it's really not. Regardless of where you stand on an issue, we ought to be able to find a way to be neighbors first. And if we make politics personal, then we aren't working for the best policy for all. We're just working for the win. And in that case, no one wins. In fact, the residents lose. I've had the privilege of standing up for developers that I believed really wanted to invest in Frisco the right way. And I've had the opportunity to stand against developers who I believed didn't, even when that seemed an unpopular thing to do. I've supported new businesses, I've supported old businesses, and I've had the opportunity to ask us all to do better. I've had the privilege of using my own personal political capital to support Frisco ISD when others would not. Because as a former public school teacher, I know the value of this school district. I've stood toe-to-toe with state senators and representatives on all sides of the aisle to defend Frisco's ability to make choices for ourselves. And I believe that if you asked each one of them, they would say that I came prepared, that I actually read the bills, that I knew my stuff, and that I worked hard to represent what was best for Frisco and not for personal gain. And I think they would say that when they needed me to come help them with an issue, that I jumped in immediately. Because again, it's not about the person, it's about good policy. I've testified in hearing after hearing to protect Frisco, and often as the only council member who was willing to do so, to the point that it angered some people. But my responsibility was to the residents I served and not to any other group. And I would do it all over again. Because when Frisco becomes more about any one person or any one group or any one agenda item, we have lost our way. To try and thank everyone who has supported me along the way, I know I would miss someone. But first, to the residents who placed their trust in me 6 years ago, thank you. I hope that I served you well. Thank you for continuing to support me each time. You are what makes this community great, not any of us. To my campaign team, you jumped in on day one and have been ready to run through walls ever since. Thank you for believing in me that much. To our city staff, what a pleasure it has been to know you as professionals and now as friends. People who work hard to serve this city and get very little credit. You were patient with me in explaining public finance, and COs and GOs and understanding the difference. Zoning laws, John, thank you. And the best ways to support all of our staff. You are the best of the best. George, Henry, Ron, Jason, Ben, Christy, Dana, Richard, and Ryan for all trying to keep us from going off cliffs. You set a standard that we should all strive to meet in our daily walks. To my family, many of you know that I served half of my time as a single mom. Which meant that these two ladies gave up more than anyone. And I love you both so very much. I always wanted you to see that you can fall down, you can pick yourself up again, and you can live to fight another day for another dream. But now what I want you to see is that God can also redirect you to choose to fight for other things that matter so much more. Following Him will always be the right choice. I know who holds my destiny. To my husband and my best friend, Will, it was you who encouraged me to take this path years ago as my friend. And it is you who holds my hand the tightest now as I walk away and fight this other fight. You know, we don't choose cancer, but we do choose how we prioritize our lives with it. And so now it's time for me to choose my husband, our precious blended family, and my sisters. It's funny how some have responded to that and my choice. But in the end, I'm just a wife, I'm a mom, and I'm a sister and a friend who is fighting for my own life against breast cancer. And you know what? It's sad that women have to choose. But here we are. And while I am so grateful for the chance to have served, it is more important now that I am grateful for the chance to get to live.
Picture book over the last 6 years. John Keating, he also wrote a nice letter. He's out of town, of course, that he wanted me to read, but it alluded to many of the things your colleagues already shared, so I did print that for you to include in here with other comments, so I'll leave that with y'all. And then this, of course, is a memento. I haven't opened it, but I assume it's on our tongue. Normally it's a clock. I guess we realize that's antiquated. So this is a brilliant representation of your time here serving the citizens of Frisco. So we'll leave this your daughter here. And I know there's a lot of people that want to love on Shona and tell her personal remarks. And I know we have a reception in the back. So now we'll take a quick recess for a session. Oh, okay.
I believe there are some that want to speak on this.
Yeah, so if you want to speak, more than welcome, please come up.
Going to the car, I got I'll sit back here. We have Shannon Hammond.
Shona, just quickly, from watching you blossom when I worked at Carroll Elementary, from a weepy mom, bringing Chloe as a kindergartner when we first met, seeing you grow into just a strong community leader that's kind, loving, has been a joy. And also
specifically from the Hammonds, you going to bat for Countdown to Escape, during COVID, you know, just being an advocate for us to be able to open back up really meant a lot to us. And most importantly, now that you will not be an official community leader like in the public limelight, I'm hoping that you will, for the first time, join all of the women of Frisco wearing white pants the day after Labor Day.
Thor Anderson.
Thank you for letting me speak. Shona, thank you so much for, I remember meeting you many times, but one of the times was during election in front of College, where we were supporting your election and those things. But I want to go back to the specific day of January 6th of last year, 2021, as the ambulance was taking me away to Texas Health. My wife made one phone call, that was to you, the very first one. And she was quite worried about my health, obviously, and your response was, don't worry, we've got this. You were there for my family. I know that the nurses told me that you checked on me for 8 days that I was on a ventilator. You checked on me regularly. You reported back to my wife. You were there for me and my family at that whole time. Like you and for the city of Frisco, I want to thank you for everything you've done. And I hope that we can be here for you.
Smittler.
Everyone has said so many wonderful, lovely things, but I thank you for your friendship. I remember meeting you, I guess maybe 10 years ago at Chamber, and then you were so good to me in getting my family together for the Citizen of the Year, and just recently with Denny's hospitalization, you were there for us and you pointed us in the right direction. I appreciate your friendship so much. You are a strong woman, you raise beautiful daughters, and you got this, Shona.
Kathy Helms.
From the oldest of times, people danced for a number of reasons. They danced in prayer, or so that their crops be plentiful. Oh, hold on, this is embarrassing. This is the wrong notes. A speech I gave in high school about a dance. I'm sorry. It's okay. I really wanted to say, Shona, besides being a loyal friend, lifelong friend, we all know that you are strong. Amen. But more than that, you make things stronger. Frisco is stronger because of you. This council is stronger because of you. And because of that strength, you can rest in the fact that what Ecclesiastes says is true. There is a time for every purpose in heaven, a time to laugh, a time to weep, to mourn, to heal, and a time to dance. And Shona, this is your time now to be strong for yourself, so that you can continue to make everything around you stronger. And maybe you'll even have a little time to cut footloose.
And last but not least, Mr. Wilsall. It's my honor tonight to pay tribute to a former colleague, Shona Huffman. Shona has lived a life of persistence and determination. She's a person of character, and so since many don't know her real story, I thought I would share a little tonight. Shona grew up being raised by her single working mom. Her dad, an alcoholic, had abandoned them. I think it's hard in today's world to understand that being the daughter of an uneducated single mom led to many people ridiculing her. That's a tough place to be, and many struggle
to move on from that place. Shona took that start and earned a full ride academic scholarship to college. That's character. After college, she became a history teacher with a passion for debate. She appeared, as some of us have now seen, on C-SPAN that teaches about democracy relative to the writings of Tocqueville. Former students still reach out to her to thank you for the impact that she has had on their lives. And it's also character. Later in life, Shona would have 2 girls of her own. She raised them the last several years as a single mom while she served as the only woman on the Frisco City Council. One is following in her footsteps as an education major at OU. The other is headed to OU in the fall. Her daughters are successful because of Shona's character. Shona had many accomplishments during her time on the Frisco City Council. She served as the chair of the legislative committee, courageously testifying on issues that mattered to Frisco when others just would not. She was elected mayor